None of that matters. It's just another day. Okay. Last archetype is the visionary. Let's see here. The visionary. Archetype family. The visionary. Other expressions: entrepreneur, innovator, pioneer. Life journey: to bring the future into the present. Unique challenge: to remain committed to a new vision long enough to see it come to fruition. Universal lesson: to believe in your vision, however great or small, and to use your creative potential to change lives. Defining grace: courage. Inner shadow: misusing your visionary power to imagine the worst possible outcomes. Male counterpart: visionary. Myths of the visionary: the vision quest, futurism, the oracle of Delphi. Delphi? Delphi. Behavior patterns and characteristics of the visionary: breaks free of traditional expectations and rules, acts as an agent of change, relies on guidance from dreams, looks to the future and sees what could be. Lifestyle challenge: to envision new possibilities for humanity and bring the future into the present. Life journey: the visionary is drawn to engaging with the future, to imagining what is possible and what might be next on the horizon. Visionaries are called so to sense two forces that are constantly operating in our lives. Both have a special ability individually and collectively. Visionaries sense the change, possibilities, and probability, changing impulses in every society, business and finance, social justice, medicine, science, design, fashion. Those of you with this archetype give birth to new ideas that shape the destiny of humanity. America was founded by political visionaries. Oh, which I wanted to make a correction. When I was reading the chapter on rebels, I think it was, I I said that the Declaration of Independence was written in Virginia. That's not true. It was written in Philadelphia, but it was derived from the Virginia Declaration. That's where Virginia's where government of body first began. So I just wanted to make that correction. Bodies of government, did I say that correctly? So I am correcting myself. The Declaration of Independence was written in Philadelphia, signed in Pennsylvania, I believe. Okay. Visionaries sense the changing impulses in every. Okay, let's see. America was founded by political visionaries who took their belief in the inalienable rights of the human spirit, life, liberty, and government, unlike anything that had ever existed before. Visionaries and noble rebels often go hand in hand. These rights, they believed, were endowed by the Creator states and therefore cannot be denied nor taken as the Declaration of Independence seen away. Visionaries are considered the engines of change, and if you have this archetype, you provide some of the most essential ingredients required to forge a better world: inspiration, motivation, and perhaps most of all, hope for the future. The visionary archetype feels limited by traditional systems, constrained by conventional rules and regulations, and smothered by familiar ways of doing things. Visionaries come in all shapes and sizes, from agents of global change like environmentalist Rachel Carson, who warned of the coming environmental crisis in her masterpiece Silent Spring, to visionary architect Buckminster Fuller, who decades ago saw the need for energy efficient housing, which inspired the design of his famous geodesic dome and created a pathway for environmental architecture. Cambridge University biologist Rupert Sheldrake introduced the field of morphic resonance into mainstream as a result of his visionary understanding that living creatures generate fields of conscious energy around them. Morphic resonance, I'll have to look that up. Sheldrake's theories lent support to the notion of a collective unconscious, shared by all humankind, that was central to the work of the visionary psychiatrist Carl Jung, who introduced the world to archetypes as the psychological patterns that are the Gloria Steinman, a feminist icon, and Harry Gurley Brown, former editors of our lives. Of the Cosmopolitan magazine, without a doubt, are visionaries who inspired other women to step into their power, whether that power was radical, physical, sexual. Their message was, we have choices. They envisioned a society in which women could determine their lifestyle based on their creative energies rather than rather rather than simply on their biology. New media visionaries like Microsoft's Bill Gates and Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg turned the world upside down with their contributions to technology and social networking. Oprah Winfrey built a media empire around her vision to transform people's lives. Her School for the Girls in South Africa is just one example of her visionary spirit in action. Fat Boy, stop. Martin Luther King Jr. had a vision of America without segregation, and 45 years later, we elected an African American president. The actor Paul Newman was both a visionary and an entrepreneur. He gave us a new model for social enterprise when he started a company to manufacture and sell his homegrown salad dressing, Newman's Owned, and other new natural food products, then gave away 100% of the profits to charitable organizations, including a camp for gravely ill kids. None of these people had any idea their visions would evolve into world-changing success stories. Innovation, visions, and their twin great ideas. Visions and their from the universe. It's up to the visionary to plant the seed, nurture the plant, and hope that it produces an abundant yield. Although we commonly associate the visionary archetype with larger than life mentioned, by far the majority of people with this archetype are ordinary folk. Our vision of what could be, or how we might change our world, may never grow into a billion-dollar enterprise or foremost a revolution, but ideas about new possibilities, however modest, wondrous, because they represent creative ways of reimagining everyday life. I know from years of teaching in this field that people tend to take for granted the patterns of power that shape their personalities, all of which are in their archetypes. Visionaries, in particular, dismiss some of their most with thoughts like, that's no big deal. I get ideas like that all the time. For visionaries, ideas can come so thick and fast that they're so quick to see the hidden potential in life that they don't realize that everyone doesn't think the way they do. The visionary can lose interest in an intriguing idea because she immediately gets distracted by another idea, never giving a great idea the attention it requires in order to reveal its fullest potential. Perhaps You recognize yourself in that description. Or maybe you've never thought about what really drives you to be the person as a visionary. You are a free-spirited dreamer, unconventional, spontaneous, and attracted to life philosophies. Your imagination could do if and when the through your highly sensitive nature. Sometimes you're so attuned to your environment that being among crowds feels as if you've just dropped into a pressure cooker. Nonetheless, you trust your intuition, although you may not always follow its guidance. By that I mean that while you lean heavily on your intuitive instincts as an organic compass, you still need to consciously choose to act upon the hunches and guidance you receive. This is true for every archetype, capacity we all share, but the visionary is especially dependent upon intuition, since that is the faculty she most relies on as the source of her creative ideas. Living an intuitively integrated life can sometimes be a challenge, given the realities we face, but the visionary continually strives to achieve a balance between rational thinking and intuition. If this is your dominant archetype, what's important for you to remember is that the intuitive self requires nurturing and time alone on a regular basis. You need more time for reflection than you may realize in order to keep the channel clear between your intuition and your conscious mind. That is the highway on which visions and great ideas travel. So learning to be still and listen is essential for you. Though there is by no means a typical visionary, those of you who have this archetype are as outwardly varied as any subway full of car subway car full of people. What visionaries have in common are a few very specific characteristics that position you early in life for an inner engagement with the future and a sole assignment to be an agent of change. Because the life journey of the visionary is one of envisioning new possibilities, visionaries are often outsiders as children. In all likelihood, you went through your youth feeling like you didn't fit in. Perhaps you saw the world like no one else did, no matter how small your world was back then. As difficult, even lonely, as that may have been, it shaped you into the visionary you were to become. Not fitting in becomes your best asset as an adult. Visionaries have a unique perspective, and fitting in, quite frankly, would cramp your style. Not that it's likely to happen. Find me someone who claims to be a visionary but says she was homecoming queen of her high school, and I'll suggest she look for another archetype that more precisely describes her. The queen might be a good place to start. As an adult, the visionary is driven by the imagination and ideas. You are always reimagining your environment, whether your home or your business or your whole life, in terms of its potential. Be honest. How many times have you envisioned a new you in some way, seen yourself living a different life in a different place, or reconsidered your immediate environment and what it would be like and feel like if you decorated it according to the scheme you designed in your head? Or perhaps you have envisioned a unique business idea. The visionary sees so many possibilities in life and can't wait to give them form. People who don't have this archetype may think you're indecisive or flighty because you're constantly repainting the walls or pushing the furniture around, then updating your wardrobe and dyeing your hair to go with the stunning new interior you've created. Or they may think you are professionally irresponsible because you can't find the right job. Visionaries, as a rule, are seeking to create their occupation, not step into an existing one. Visionaries can't leave anything as is. They have an irresistible urge to unleash the hidden potential in anyone and everything they encounter. What else could I do with this old couch or table? A visionary wonders, and within seconds, she sees the couch reupholstered in a futuristic geometric pattern and the table repainted a vivid red. I remember hearing about a woman who dropped off a beaten up old table and set of four chairs at a friend's house, thinking the friend might find use for them. The table had a round glass top and an hourglass shape, wrought iron base that looked like a bunch of flower stems pinched together to form a bouquet. The friend, a gifted visionary, immediately saw potential in the table. She struck a bargain with the young art student, telling the girl that if she could find a creative way of painting the table, the visionary would sponsor her for a class at the Art Institute of Chicago. The young artist took up the challenge and, knowing the visionary was an avid gardener, went through her garden, noting all the colors of the flowers. She then painted each chair in the shade of a flower, and then painted the table base in various shades of green, as if it really were a bunch of stems with a tabletop as the floral crown. By the time she was done, not only had this young woman produced a stunning piece of art for the visionary, but another woman, who writes enchanting children's books about fairies, happened to see the table when she came to visit and said, "That's no ordinary piece of art. That's a fairy table, set in a perfect fairy garden. I can just see it now. It's a perfect image for a section of my book that I've been trying to write." One woman's vision inspired another person and yet another. Such is the power of the visionary's imagination. A visionary of an entirely different sort is a woman I know who is brilliant at selling real estate because she can spot the potential of a property like no one else. She didn't start out in real estate, but when an opportunity came her way to learn about urban planning, she decided to try it. She needed to finance her graduate degree in the new field. However, so she decided to make pasta and sell it on the side. In her mind, she saw herself as a great Italian cook, and it seemed logical that she could use this talent to finance grad school. And it did. Many people see themselves in their imagination, but visionaries take it a step further. They have what it takes to envision themselves as something out of the ordinary. The world today is a visionary's paradise, in that we're living at the threshold of a new era of technology and therefore of imagination. The internet has awakened the visionary spirit in countless individuals, from Larry Page to Sergey Brin, who founded Google, to Ariana Huffington, who harnessed the power of blogging in her online publication, The Huffington Post. To the internet world is one big house for visionaries by the thousands. The difference between visionaries we hear about and those we don't is the willingness to set one creative idea in motion and then follow through. Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx, the wonder shapewear that made any woman and now also any man look or at least feel red carpet ready, is a poster child for the visionary archetype. Blakely was selling photocopies door to door and moonlighting as a comedian when she had an idea for a product she really believed in. Investors she approached didn't share her enthusiasm, but she persisted, and eventually her determination paid off in less than a decade. Blakely built a $1 billion business, becoming the youngest self made billionaire on the Forbes magazine list. But her vision didn't stop there. She now encourages other women entrepreneurs to follow their visions, helping support their efforts through her foundation. Not all visions are about creating product or something external. Some of your best ideas might be about exploring your potential as a human being. These are some of the best, most exciting visions of all. As a visionary, you might imagine yourself on rare and unusual adventures, like like going walkabout in the Australian bush, or hiking the Appalachian Trail, or hang gliding over Acapulco Bay. Or you might find yourself drawn to learning about holistic healing arts. Making a contribution to improving the lives of others, whether one or many, is a core value of the visionary archetype. Visionaries are working around the globe, many of them anonymously, to make this planet a better place to live. We will never know the majority of those with the visionary archetype who, like you, are engines of transformation in this world. As a visionary, your nighttime dreams are important to you. They entice you to explore the unknown, the ultimate seduction for the visionary. Dreams are a fertile source of ideas, like lucid dreaming, that most of your visions and ideas probably won't turn the world upside down, but they do have the potential to turn and even shape your dreams. Your world up. So if you feel the visionary running through your veins, make friends with your archetype right away. The visionary gene stemming from your idea that continually pour out of your mind, and your tendency to drop. As a visionary, you're inherently in love with ideas. You love to dance with ideas, share ideas, and find ways to expand them into high flying visions to see if they can take the altitude. An evening spent around a dinner table sharing new ideas about anything, what you're doing, what you're going to do with your life, how you want to change your wardrobe, how you want to create and transform a business, how you envision a new financial future, how you want to navigate through a life crisis, has the power to lift you into the heightened state in which you feel vibrantly alive. You thrive on conversations like this. So one of the challenge for visionaries is to be aware of your tendency to get caught up in the thrill of spinning out a vision, but you end up talking about it rather than putting it into action. At this is the point at which part 2 of your unique challenge kicks in. As soon as the thrill of the moment is gone, you can come up with all sorts of reasons for not acting on your ideas. The visionary can always find ways to poke holes in an idea as an excuse to go in search for the next big idea. Perfectionists by nature, visionaries can analyze a vision to death, deciding it would never be something as game changing as Facebook or penicillin or the iPad. So, what's the point in pursuing it? Commitment to an idea that has the power to transform you personally in any way is a vision worth nurturing. The bottom line is, you need to remain committed to a vision long enough to see it come to fruition. Universal lesson. The lesson for the visionary is to experience the power of your creative vision, however large or small, and to realize its potential in the larger scope of your life. Visionaries receive acclaim not only for what you contribute to society, but also because you took a risk on something that could potentially impact the lives of many people. And you took that risk without any guarantee of the outcome. In failure, visionaries stand alone to face humiliation and defeat. But when successful, countless people hoping that even the tiniest fragment of the accolades showered on hanging onto your podium, hope you will fall their way. It's easy, of course, to praise a visionary once her ideas have caught fire, but by that time, its best work is to change your life for the lives of others. Visionaries, the vision or idea itself, and in its spiritual source and its creative potential but because they had the courage to, even when others would fail. On a more personal scale, visionaries remind us that all ideas have the power to shift the ground beneath our feet. So often, people tell me that they have no idea what to do with their life, or their business, or their marriage. What most people are really saying, however, is that they're terrified to even think all the ideas, all the ideas rushing around in their mind, because should one of those ideas take hold, their life would change forever. Change, whether personal or professional, can be extremely intimidating. Ultimately, we admire visionaries because they are not afraid to dream big dreams and follow them. Excuse me, and they thrive on change. Defining at the change in the new. Small wonder then that courage or visionaries to continue a sweepable amount of courage to be a change agent, whether you are revolutionizing an entire industry or simply opening up a new path in your personal life. Envisioning what is possible in life, no matter the scale, means that you are recognizing that the old way is no longer working. It takes courage to introduce a new idea, and as there will almost certainly be some form of opposition to it. That's the nature of change. But even a visionary may find the prospect of change challenging when the new possibilities she's envisioning are for her own life, for who she could be, or for what she might be able to accomplish if she followed through on exploring the unknown. Understanding something of the nature of courage can help visionaries tap into the power of this grace. If you have the visionary archetype, it's important to remember this maxim. Rises in you just as you need it most. Courage is courage isn't something you can. Okay, the grace of courage floods into you at the moment you need it. Your job is to trust that it will be there for you. The grace of courage can help the visionary in making the right choices. We all want to know for certain that we're making good decisions in life, but how exactly can we determine if a choice is the right one? Visionaries receive a lot of guidance intuitively. The best way to decide if you're making the right choice is to trust your gut. Really pay attention to your body and how you feel as you're mulling over a choice. Courage is the grace that continually directs you to do the right thing according to your conscience. There is no mistaking the right thing. Life is really not that complicated. But we make it so when we fight what we intuitively know because it is not convenient for us. Said differently, the wrong thing requires you to compromise your integrity. Don't you always know when you're doing that? Inner shadow. The inner shadow of the visionary is missing your visionary power to imagine the worst possible outcomes. To give you an idea of what I mean, I'll share some examples on a mega scale. Many of you have heard of Nostradamus, a visionary physician who, while treating people for the plague during the 16th century, wrote down numerous cryptic prophecies in the form of poetic quatrains in order to obscure their meaning. As a consequence, his prophecies of forthcoming doom and gloom, plagues, floods, wars, and other disasters have been interpreted and reinterpreted throughout the centuries, resulting in all manner of wildly speculative conclusions with not a shared with not a shred of substantiating evidence. Modern day entrepreneurs have read into Nostradamus' prophecy of assassination to the and to the 9/11 terrorists attack. If any individual stands at the quintessential shadow visionary, it is Nostradamus. Nostradamus, whose apocalyptic visions point to global destruction rather than human transformation. Armageddon is a very popular theme in film, television, and video games these days, of future worlds in which humanity self directly from the shadow side of the visionary archetype. 50-50 chance of coming true or not, turning the possibilities for what our worlds will be like tomorrow to probabilities depends on our actions today, combined with whether or not we are optimistic and hopeful about our future. In other words, how we envision our tomorrow lays the foundation for it. In times of great change, such as we're living in now, it's not unusual for people to feel anxiety about the future. Makers, videographers, and game designers are exploring the underlying dread rippling through the collective unconscious. The popularity of vampires, zombies, and other soulless characters from the underworld indicates how much young people today are attracted to the dark side of immortality. Filmmakers are finding ways to envision the macabre within a romantic theme. The first time we've seen this on such a grand scale. However, dark visionaries have always been seductive characters in literature, film, and life. Mary Shelley's Dr. Frankenstein is a classic example. But dark visionaries are everywhere. I often caution people about going to psychics for personal readings because it's easy to fall under the spell of someone who senses your fears and then seduces you into thinking he has psychic insights to guide you through your difficulties. Next thing you know, you're turning to that person for every decision you make. Meanwhile, the psychic is feeding you bogus information while draining your bank account. The dark visionary doesn't just live out there in the world. There's a dark visionary in all of us that can be activated. When we envision the worst possible outcome of whatever is pending, the medical test will find a malignancy, we'll be fired from a job, our marital problem will end in an ugly divorce. That's the dark visionary at work. It's the shadow side of the archetype that torments the visionary with thoughts of failure before she even tries expressing a new idea that she's been longing to give form. The intuitive visionary, with her vivid imagination, is prone to falling into a cycle of shadow visions until she can't tell whether what she's sensing is guidance or a product of her fear. It can be difficult to step out of this cycle because, in a paradoxical way, it's also safe. It keeps you from taking action you're afraid to take. For the visionary, countering your shadow side calls for cultivating awareness and observing your thoughts so you can learn to discriminate between genuine visions and fear-based images. Fears are bullies that will hold you captive until you stand up to them. You cannot break up a fear by thinking or talking your way through it. Action is required. Courageous choices dissolve your fears, and one courageous choice inevitably leads to another. Male counterpart. Although archetypes are mostly inherently genderless, archetypal patterns of behavior can be shaped by gender of the individual. In the visionary, some of the differences can be striking. Like the female visionary, the male visionary is highly sensitive, intuitive, and open to new ideas. But in today's marketplace, this may make him very ambitious and competitive about getting his ideas out in the world before the other guy does. Adventure is a turn-on for all visionaries, and most will try anything once. But while a female visionary may get an adrenaline rush from just playing around with new ideas, a male visionary, particularly one with a secondary athlete archetype, may gravitate towards skydiving, bungee jumping, and stunt flying, or any other sport that will literally turn him upside down and keep his head spinning. Visionaries are comfortable with their own company. Who wouldn't be, with all those exciting ideas flying around in their minds? But at the same time, they love the sensual part of life. A visionary man, however, may find commitment confining. Boundaries and new ideas seem like opposing forces to him. And if tending to the needs of another person challenges the time and energy he needs to birth a new idea, the idea is going to win out most of the time. Male visionaries tend to float in and out of relationships or have relationships on their own terms. Particular practicality is not a visionary strength or priority. But if a man's visionary archetype is balanced by a more domestic one, such as the father, he will have the blend embodied by the late Steve Jobs. Although Jobs never married his life partner, he had children with her, and their relationship was long term. Because they are not bound by convention, visionary men are very innovative and forward thinking. Years ago, I met a man who ran a small manufacturing company in New England. When he noticed that his employees seemed to be feeling more stressed, he approached several staff members for feedback. It turned out that there were some newly divorced single moms who were having difficulty arranging childcare. The man had an idea and he began looking into the possibility of providing on site daycare, a totally novel, even risky idea at the time. He decided to try it, however, thinking that if it didn't work out, at least he would have done his best to respond to the needs of his staff. Needless to say, the daycare program was a great success. In fact, it drew more attention to the best kind to his company than any advertising campaign ever had. The visionary business owner demonstrated what a company could do if the leadership had the courage to take a risk. He became an inspiration to other business owners, not only because of his support for the women in his workplace, but also because the daycare facility clearly demonstrated what can happen when someone sees a need, envisions new possibilities, and implements the vision. Most visionary ideas are spontaneous, arising out of the need to resolve a situation or find a creative solution to a problem. My friend Roger is a remarkable visionary, if not a rather accomplished eccentric who lives at Findhorn, an ecological community in northern Scotland that has been committed to alternative living for over 50 years. A long-standing goal of the community was to create energy-efficient living accommodations. Findhorn happens to be located near the famous Whiskey Trail where popular brands like Glenfiddich and Glenlivet are manufactured. Several years ago, Robert learned that several other of the distilleries were switching to the traditional wooden barrels in which they aged the whiskey to modern aluminum. He knew that these barrels were large and very sturdy, so he offered to take a couple off their hands to convert into living quarters. Within a few months, Roger's vision of living in a whiskey barrel house became a reality. A rather fragrant one, admittedly, but he had manifested his outrageous vision. Soon, other people were duplicating his barrel house, and within a few years, the area where Roger lives came to be known as the Barrel House Center. Myths of the visionary. Myths speak to the visionary more directly than to most other archetypes. The language of symbols and images is the lingua franca of the visionary's inner world. The visionary would be right at home in many traditional cultures where knowledge is imparted through myth, story, dreams, and waking visions. The vision quest, with its promise of transformation, when undertaken with a skilled shaman or special guide, rightly belongs in the category of visionary spiritual myths. In traditional societies, the vision quest is a rite of passage, an inner journey to awaken a seeker's visionary sense. In these traditions, the quest for inner truth and integrity In these traditions, the quest for inner truth and integrity is valued above all else. The vision quest awakens within the visionary such a clear awareness of who she really is that betraying her true nature would be unthinkable from that point on. Our society does not have an exact equivalent to this experience, but those who have undertaken such a quest or similar initiation come away with a new understanding of their life purpose. Often people emerge with a very different purpose from what they had been doing or had expected to do. For the visionary archetype, the vision quest is a rebirth. The visionary, who may have been walking through our hyper-rational, conventional world with a sense of isolation or apartness, awakens to the deep realization that visioning, seeing what could be and bringing it to the world, is her true calling. The experience brings self-acceptance. Suddenly, the vivid dreams and visions, the attraction to the unknown, and the pull to birth her unique vision makes perfect sense. The visionary who steps into her archetype through a transformative experience of this sort finds herself, maybe for the first time ever, fully at home on the leading edge of society. Futurists embody a very different expression of the visionary myth. The author H.G. Wells and Jules Verne established a precedent for imagining the coming worlds ahead, some of which, like the automatic doors and genetically engineered plants envisioned by Wells, have come to pass more or less. George Orwell, without a doubt one of the greatest futurists of all times, continues to influence from his grave with his dystopian vision, 1984. Phrases like Big Brother is watching you, thought police, and in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act, have entered the vernacular, giving social paranoia a backbone. Visionary futurists like George Lucas, creator of Star Wars, and James Cameron, director of Avatar, have in common the need to tell stories about possible new worlds. In their visions, good continues to battle evil, the eternal story of humanity, only with special effects. Steven Spielberg, who dabbles in futuristic themes, captivated us with his enchanting film E.T., in which he countered the stereotypic vision of a violent extraterrestrial encounters with a meeting of innocence between galaxies. Myths of the feminine visionary make their way through figures such as Greek goddess Athena, the power behind the thrones of men, and the Oracle of Delphi, honored by her society for her ability to reach through the veil and into the realm of the gods to bring their messages back to earth. Lifestyle challenge. Great ideas come at a price. Ideas or visions are living creatures. When Sarah Blakely imagined creating Spanx, it wasn't just an idle thought like, let's go get lunch. Her vision was an animated download that consumed her completely. She was willing to build her life around making it a reality. Even visionaries can talk their visions to death, however, draining the energy from them like letting the air out of a balloon. But to bring a vision to fruition, you can't just talk about it, you have to act on it, no matter how great or modest the vision is. You have to commit to doing whatever is required to make that vision take shape. Giving form to a vision is risky business. How could it not be? You are bringing something into being that did not exist before. People who need a guarantee of success before acting on their ideas can't understand the visionary who will empty her bank account, max out her credit cards, remortgage her home, and sell her car, who will pour all her personal resources, in other words, into an idea whose time has come. So if you have a vision that is begging for expression, the question to ask yourself is, am I willing to rearrange my life around this idea? Whatever adjustments to your lifestyle that requires, whatever changes in your finances or living situation, are you capable of taking that type of risk? Would it scare you to suddenly get a truly great idea? Many of us say we'd do anything for $1 million idea, but if it came down to it, would we really? It's not an issue that most other archetypes will confront, but it's a very real question for a visionary with an idea to put out in the world. Even if your vision isn't one requiring bank loans and a team of investors, it requires an investment of your time and emotional commitment. Are you willing to envision a better future, whether for yourself or a few people or for humanity at large? And then make whatever changes in your life are necessary to see your vision through to reality. That is the visionary's lifestyle challenge. Recognize your archetype. Are you a visionary? Seeing yourself as a visionary can be difficult if you think the label only fits those who make radical or influential changes in the world. But as inwardly focused, vision is no less worthy of the name, whether it is following a dream you had, trusting your intuition rather than simply your intellect, or taking a chance on a new idea that changes your life in tangible ways. A vision could also take the form of imagining a change in your work or home situation. A dramatic change like moving your family to a new country to immerse them in a different culture, or leaving your corporate job to launch a new business, would be very risky if you didn't have strong vision for how to bring it about. But there's also the free spirited, unconventional side of the visionary. You love offbeat ideas and non traditional practices. You've probably sampled any number of different spiritual practices and consciousness raising techniques, and you're fascinated by what cutting edge brain science is discovering about human potential. As far as you're concerned, the sky's the limit. You're a firm believer that if you can't dream it, you can achieve it. That if you can dream it, you can achieve it. Often a visionary can be spotted by the company she keeps. Visionaries aren't real joiners, but you do enjoy the company of other visionaries. You're most comfortable among imaginative people with inventive ideas and an original take on life. You're drawn to and a little in awe of well-known visionaries, past and present. As a child, your heroes might have been historical visionaries like Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, inventors like the Wright brothers and Alexander Graham Bell, adventurous visionaries like Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart, spiritual revolutionaries like Jesus and the Buddha, or political radicals like Gandhi and Joan of Arc. If you think about all these visionaries, what qualities do they have that you wish you had? Can you see those qualities within yourself? Maybe you're a frustrated or frightened visionary. You dream but don't act. You're frequently inspired but quickly lose interest. You force yourself to take a safe path, but you aren't happy or fulfilled. Instead, you feel restless and unsatisfied. Or maybe you find yourself envisioning worst-case scenarios, poverty, failure, disappointing yourself or others, if you dare to act on your dreams. It's important for a visionary to not get caught up in negative projections. Many of the most creative and successful innovators have a long list of things they tried that didn't work out. Do you honestly think a scientist or inventor has hit on the great solution on the very first try? I can't remember how many prototypes the visionary and industrial designer James Dyson went through before he finally hit on the design for his revolutionary bagless vacuum cleaner. Visionaries see failure as a kind of badge of courage. It means you dared to see if one of your visions would take off. Still, not sure if the visionary is your archetype? Take a look at the list of behavior patterns, the characteristic of the visionary, on the page opposite to see whether you identify with any of them. If you feel the description of the visionary fits you, then proceed to the next section and discover how to fully embrace your visionary archetype. The visionary, you're continually coming up with new ideas and thinking, what if? You're not intimidated by risk. You're an agent of change. You sense transformation in the outer world before it happens. You look for ways to break free of traditional expectations and rules. You've always been an outsider. You approach life in unconventional ways. You've been called an eccentric and free spirit. You rely on guidance from your dreams. You see the problem and right away you're thinking up solutions. You give yourself a time alone to think and to dream. You look to the future and see what could be, rather than dwelling on what happened in the past. You avoid crowds when possible. Sensory overload blocks your intuition. Step into your archetype, tapping into the power of the visionary. Being a visionary is no small task. It's not about reading people's minds or seeing the future so you can have an edge on your safety and well-being. It's about grasping the big picture so you can midwife positive change. As with any archetype, the visionary isn't something you become, it's something you are. You don't need to pass a test to qualify. Stepping into the visionary archetype means fully engaging with your inherent strengths. It involves learning to trust your intuition and the wisdom that comes to you from your deepest self. And although there are no courses in visioning to take, there are ways you can tap into the power of your archetype and open your wisdom eye. Go on a vision quest. In indigenous societies, one way to step into your visionary archetype is to go on a vision quest under the watchful eye of a shaman or spiritual guide. Some adventurous visionaries might want to follow the traditional path. Nowadays, there are knowledgeable trainers trained in Native American and other indigenous practices who can lead individuals or groups through the journey of awakening. If you don't have time or inclination to spend a weekend or a week in the desert recovering your power animal and spirit guide, you could still take an inner journey of sorts to connect with your inner eye, the source of images and ideas. For this, you'll need to spend time alone, away from ordinary distractions, in a quieter corner at home. Perhaps, or out in nature, the woods and deserted beaches are good for this. The point is to switch off the incessant chatter of your conscious mind and let wisdom bubble up from a deep source. Be adventurous. Nobody can tell you to jump out of an airplane or go parasailing if you're deathly afraid of heights. But you can find a way to tap into your visionary's natural affinity for adventure. If it's just the mental adventure of learning a language or taking a course that's way, way out of your field, deliberately push yourself out of your comfort zone. Navigate a city without GPS. Travel alone to unfamiliar place where you know nobody and don't speak the language. If you're a confirmed city dweller, go camping. If you're a landlubber, spend time at sea. Hang upside down. Exercise is proven to change your brain, which changes your thoughts and moods. If you really want to loosen up your thinking and change your perspective, do yoga inversions. Hang upside down from a trapeze or rings, or go bungee jumping. Run with a different crowd. This should be easy for a visionary. You're naturally drawn to stimulating conversations and enjoy people with other backgrounds than yours. Keep putting yourself in places where you can see life through different eyes. Spend time with children and listen to what they have to say. Children are naturally divergent thinkers, which can send your visionary brain off in new directions. Take walks. Scientists and inventors have made some of their greatest discoveries while out walking. Letting the mind and feet wander seems to trigger brainstorms. Take leisurely walks with no special destination. Also, hold one on one meetings on the hoof and see how many more fresh ideas you generate than when you're sitting around a stuffy office. Remember your dreams. Dreams, waking or sleeping, are a visionary's valuable resource, a gold mine of ideas and images with transformative powers. Keep a dream journal and work on remembering your dreams. Lucid dreaming lets you control the course and content, so you can make the most of guidance from your deep self and collective unconscious. As a visionary archetype, you pick up so much more information intuitively than you want to be mindful of your surroundings. Sensory overload, especially too much noise, can prevent you from hearing your own inner guidance. Be aware of how you feel. Pay attention to what empowers you and what drains your energy. Where you gain power. Spending time alone to dream and create. Being optimistic about the future. Cultivating the courage to act out your ideas. Sharing your visions with people you trust who can help you put them into action. Practicing some form of contemplation to clear the channel to your intuition. Giving your creativity free rein. Staying open to new ideas. Hanging out with other imaginative, visionary people. Being forthright and honest. Where you lose your power and how to regain it. Buying into other people's doubts. Ignore naysayers. They're probably just jealous. Follow a good idea and see how far it can go. Dwelling on the past. The future is your natural home. Ignoring your intuition. Before making decisions, please check within. Giving in to fear. Focus on what's going on right, not on what could go wrong. Resisting change. You're a change agent, so take a deep breath and dive in. Flirting with ideas without acting on any. Commit to an idea, any idea. If it doesn't fly, consider it practice. Trying to fit in. Don't try to conform to an existing role or job. Create one that makes the most of your ideas and talents. Checklist for the visionary. I pay attention to the messages in my dreams and visions. I always open to new people, possibilities, and ideas. I don't follow trends. I focus on innovating and creating. I think of creative ways to solve problems I see. I look to the future and say, what if I don't dwell on the past? You have what it takes to make a profound difference in the world and to bring about positive change, whether you are envisioning a new you or helping others envision new lives for themselves. You intuitively come up with innovative ideas and solutions. Never doubt your irrepressible nature. Follow your dreams. So that is it. And then they just go over some of the archetypes, and I can read those tomorrow. They're just little brief descriptions. Okay. So that's exciting. I'm ready to put my archetypal wheel together. All right, that's it.